Thomas Beatty. I'm a guide for Rocky Mountain River Tours on the Middle Fork of the Salmon. And my question is, what is the single biggest threat to salmon and steelhead that spawn in the Middle Fork drainage?
So the Middle Fork and other wild Idaho salmon and steelhead require three things. First of all, they require what we call natal habitat, which is spawning and rearing habitat. Then they need a migration corridor, so the smolts or the juveniles migrating to the ocean can get to the ocean, and then they also need that corridor coming back as adults. And that's where a metric I'll talk about, SAR, is measured. And then they need an estuary and an ocean. And in the case of wide-ranging species like Chinook, the Frank Church River No Return Wilderness conserves just two links in that chain of essential habitats. The Frank conserves essential spawning and rearing habitat, but salmon also require this migration corridor and the estuary in the ocean. And Idaho fish currently have access to two of these necessary components. What they lack is a suitable migration corridor. The migration corridor in the Snake and Columbia River has been dramatically altered by human development. 8 dams now create 325 miles of reservoir in what was formerly a free-flowing river. And these changes result in migration delays, higher predation rates on juveniles, a lack of food, and elevated water temperatures. In 2015, 96% of sockeye destined for Idaho died between the lowermost dam, Bonneville, and the uppermost dam, Lower Granite, as a result of elevated water temperatures. For more than 2 decades, scientists have concluded that the primary cause of Idaho salmon and steelhead declines is the development of the hydro system in that migration corridor. And in a recent recovery plan, NOAA Fisheries stated, quote, federal hydropower projects in the lower Columbia and Snake Rivers remain a primary threat to the viability of Snake River Chinook salmon and steelhead. Judge Simon also ruled, quote, federal dams are causing irreparable harm to imperiled salmon and steelhead, unquote. And to illustrate why, I'm going to talk about that SAR metric. It's smolt to adult return rate, and it's one of the things we use to measure health of salmon populations. In the 1960s, when there were 4 dams in that migration corridor, SARs ranged from 3.5 to 6.5%. And that means that for every 100 smolts that migrated to the ocean, 3 to 6 adult salmon returned. After those 4 additional dams were built, making 8 dams in place now, SARs have averaged 0.7%, less than 1% for the past 19 years. And when SARs are less than 2%, the population cannot maintain itself, and this is precisely why Idaho wild salmon and steelhead are at imminent risk of extinction. So if we do a triage, the science tells us that the most dramatic effect on our Middle Fork populations is that migration corridor. So that's where the most critical actions can be taken to restore these fish.